Hey everybody, so here are the tools that you're going to need for this project. Because we're going to be doing some pattern making, I think you're going to need some additional tools. So one of them is a metal ruler. My metal ruler actually has a cork back to it. And what that does is that keeps it from sliding around when you place it on paper. You're also going to need a plastic ruler. You can get these plastic rulers from any art supply store. I think this is going to definitely be helpful because when we're doing the fringe and you need to make marks, you're definitely going to want to be able to see through the ruler and make your next mark. And I think these plastic rulers are great tools for that. Next up is we have a rotary hole punch. The rotary hole punch, not an inexpensive tool. I do recommend, if you're going to be doing these kinds of projects ongoingly, that you invest a little bit of extra money in getting really great tools so that you don't have to replace them. So this particular tool, like I said, is a little bit more expensive, but totally worth it. And in the time that I've had it, I've never had to replace it or even sharpen it. And I've had mine for several years. Next up are some pliers. You're going to need these for opening and closing the chain. You really can get away with one, but I'm recommending two so that you can hold the link with one, like with the red handle, and then open it with the one with the blue handle. I think it's just going to make your life easier if you have two tools. And they don't have to be exactly like this. You can use just two pairs of pliers, but I just wanted to show you the two things that I'm going to be using. Next up we have is some cutting tools. We have a pair of scissors and a rotary cutter. The scissors, I'm pointing this out because I only use these pair of scissors for paper. I do not use them on material or fabrics at all. And then for cutting materials and fabrics, I use the rotary cutter. And if you're wondering why I would have, two separate tools. Basically just keep in mind that the seam allowance on these patterns is 3/8 of an inch, which is not that much. So I think it's important to use a tool that's going to give you the most accurate cut possible and give you the most professional results. And I really think the rotary cutter is going to be able to deliver that for you, no problem. Next up, we've got an X-Acto knife and a awhile, spelled AWL. These two tools are optional. You don't have to have them, but I do think they will make your life easier. And you'll see me use them in future videos. And like I said, if you're going to be doing these kinds of projects ongoingly, I think they will help you. Next up is some thread. I just need to point out with this thread, this is not standard thread, like meaning cotton thread. This is 69 bonded nylon thread and is only used on leather and used in small leather goods. I think it's important to mention that because I don't want you guys to be confused that I'm using regular thread when I'm not. And again, this is super strong, which is why we're using it on leather. Next up is we have the snap or snaps. And then the thing to know about these are magnetic snaps. And then just to kind of how the pieces go together, one of them is called a female and the other one is called the male. And I think if you look at it real super close, you can figure out which piece is which. So that's just how they refer to it, as the male and the female side. Next up is the chain that we're going to be using. Isn't this beautiful? I love this chain, it's so pretty. And the thing about this chain I just want to point out is that it does have an opening, and so you're going to need to be able to open and close this chain. And you can see to the side, I've already dislodged a piece so that you can see it. It's really important when you're sourcing your chain to pick some chain that has this open slot so that we can open and close it. Next we have some binder clips. You guys have seen these before, I'm sure, a million times, and these can be purchased at any office supply store. And then we've got some trim. So if I haven't mentioned it before, I do live in New York, and I sourced this particular trim from a place in the garment district. It is leather cording. And then last, but certainly not least, we've got some marking tools. And these pens and pencils, you guys can kind of use whatever you want, but these are the basics that I'm kind of suggesting in terms of getting you started so that you guys have the things that you need. So you're going to definitely need a pencil. There's a black Sharpie and a silver Sharpie, and I'm showing you both because it really just depends on what color material that you're using. So if you have a dark color, you're going to want the silver, and if you have a light color, you're going to want the black. Next up, we've got a pen. You're definitely going to need that. And then another marking option for you guys is a watercolor pencil, and I just bought one in a silver color to mark, and again, just an inexpensive option for you guys to use. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was like $2 at the most. I bought it from an art supply store. So that is all of the tools that we're going to be using for this project. All right, so here are the materials that I'm going to be using for this project. So on the top, you'll see some embossed snakeskin in blue. Kind of has a mix to it. It's real pretty. And then for the inside facing, I'm going to be using that darker blue. And then for the lining, that light kind of washed out blue, I'm going to be using that. And then of course we've got some thread. And then our snaps are in the middle, which I showed you guys in the previous video. And then that's the chain. So if you look at all that together, I think it's a really amazing composition for this bag, and I can't wait to get started.